There we go.
Mistake number 1, trying to go vegan overnight without doing any research.
Every single essential nutrient that you can think of come from plants.
We can get everything we need from a plant-based diet.
Do your research.
You can get every nutrient you need from a plant-based diet.
Studies show we can get every single essential vitamin and nutrient and mineral from plants.
Actually educate yourself.
And the only thing one really has to seriously be concerned about on a plant-based diet is getting a regular, reliable source of vitamin B12. Otherwise, you can end up paralyzed, demented, or dead.
Did he say paralyzed, demented, or dead? I'm trying to be paralyzed, demented, or dead.
Educate.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, nobody wants to be dead. So you got to do the things that makes you not dead. Somebody could also say, like, would you recommend walking in front of a moving car? And then you say, no, if you walk in front of a moving car, you could become paralyzed, maybe demented, and definitely can become dead. So there are things you should do and should not do if you don't want to become paralyzed, demented, or dead.
Is to educate yourself. You'll be much more motivated to maintain.
I do want to backtrack. So the first handful of clips were vegan activists saying that you can get everything on a plant-based diet. I'm trying to think of how that's usually worded, because almost every vegan activist I ever hear talk will also point out that you need B12. Sometimes they'll say you need DHA omega-3s, vitamin D, and B12. And even sometimes iodine will get mentioned. But iodine's usually found in seaweed, so it's not like that's not a thing that's in animal products that you have to do because you're a vegan. That's more of a health thing where a lot of people will cut salt out of the diet if they're doing a health thing with veganism. So when you cut salt out, you're losing the iodized salt. And so anyways, that's its own separate thing. So I guess I don't know why I brought that up. But yeah, and vitamin D is kind of tricky. You'll hear mixed things because of, depending on where you live and the amount of sunlight you get. Because outside of that, it would have to come in diet form. Just a real quick breakdown. It's in the algae that's in the water. And then, let's see. Okay, sorry. I'm talking about omega-3s real quick. And it's in the algae in the water. The fish eat the algae, and then therefore they have it in their bodies. So people get omega-3s eating seafood. And but you can also get vegan supplements that are just the algae. I'm sure you could go and just eat the algae itself. I'm sure that's disgusting, but I don't know. I don't know if people used to do that or what it tastes like. I'd be curious to find out if that's something you could do. But anyways, the supplement can exist, so it doesn't really matter. And so anyways, you got the DHA and EPA omega-3s. You got vitamin D and then B12. And so I guess I'd just be curious if when those vegan activists were saying you can get everything in a vegan diet or a plant-based diet, if what they're referring to is also including the supplements, because usually I hear them say something like that. I guess a lot of it comes down to like what we view as food. If you take some prepared food product and you say this is food, then preparing a supplement that has things in it that you can consume, that's food. And if it would be coming from a plant, so it'd be a plant-based diet. So anyways, I don't know if the thought is that it's a plant-based diet that doesn't involve supplements, because supplement just means you're supplementing with something. If somebody only eats fruits and veggies, but then they want to get like B12 from meat, they could supplement meat into their diet. So then meat would become a supplement. Now, obviously, colloquially, we mean like a little pill full of stuff when we say supplement. But anyways, I just think it's worth going over these details. Let's just continue.
Vegan diet.
I believe methylcobalamin is the most absorbable form.
I encourage people to choose cyanocobalamin, not methylcobalamin.
Okay. And so something I got to point out here. So that's, I believe that's Michael Clapper saying the methyl, and then Dr. Michael Greger saying the cyana. So these aren't contradictions at all. The methylcobalamin being understood as the most easily absorbed B12, from my understanding, is completely correct. But not everybody can absorb it. So depending on if your body is the right body for it, it would be absorbed easier and it would be better for you. The reason Michael Greger encourages cyanocobalamin is, I believe I've heard him mention many times, that it is the one that's usually tested. So when you can look at a study and see if however studies are set up, if you can see that a vitamin B12 supplement from cyanocobalamin makes somebody have B12 in their system and it works, then in this case, he's recommending what has been studied. So cyanocobalamin has been studied in a way where it would be the best to recommend to everyone. It doesn't mean that if somebody is wealthy enough to get both, then get both with the knowledge that the methylcobalamin is more easily absorbed.
Here he covers your B12 with 200 micrograms of B12.
I would recommend 1,000 micrograms a day.
You only need 2.4 micrograms a day.
So that's where they got the new 4 to 7 a day recommendation.
And if you take a 5,000 microgram dose, it will not hurt you.
You should be able to take one of those 500s, chop it up in pieces and take, a little piece once a week or something like that.
It can even be any dosage because the amount that we need is just a couple of micrograms per day. They all have more than that. There are no negative effects of it.
Okay, so I don't mean any offense, but this is just such a poorly made video. I guess if I'm wrong, maybe somebody can let me know, or Vegan Phobic can come and talk to me about this. But aside from the line that Greger said about the 1,000 a day, everything else there was the same. Everything was just the same, slightly worded different. One guy said you could take 5,000 and it's not going to hurt you. That's just pointing out that water soluble. It just means that like there are some things that you can get too much of in your body that it can be toxic for you, where something like B12, you could take an endless amount and it won't matter. So all the recommendations in there, somebody was talking about taking like a 500 microgram supplement and chopping it up and just having little bits if you want to get it every day. Somebody was saying if you take a certain amount a week, then it breaks it up. But almost everything being said there is pointing out that it's thought of that you need very little, just a small, 4 to 7, I think you said, micrograms a day. Now, there might be some slight changes from understanding new things. We can study things and keep learning new things. With everything involving nutrition, we're going to constantly be learning new things and finding out what's best. There's a lot of things that were thought of to be healthy at one point or not healthy at another point. And it's good to do studies and find out and show the new information. At one point, they were saying eggs were healthy, and then they weren't. At one point, egg whites are healthy, and then they're not. Egg yolks are healthy, and then they're not. We should keep having as many studies as possible and keep having them done right, and preferably not the studies that are funded by the companies selling something. And then we update the information. The idea of saying because some information changed that's a bad thing, I think is silly. The idea that something sounds like slightly different information out there is silly. It seems like for the most part, anybody can just take a B12 supplement. Going off of studies, it would be cyanocobalamin, and any supplement, you just take one a week or whatever. It really doesn't matter. Now, the thing about Greger saying that he's changed it to 1,000, I don't think that's accurate. I just, before doing this reaction video, I went and watched the most recent thing that Greger said on B12, and he broke it down thoroughly, and it's nowhere near that. He didn't say the 1,000 in it. So I'm not calling this a lie. It could be accurate, but I think my guess is that he took a clip of Michael Greger saying to take 1,000 of something, not talking about B12, and he put it in here to make this joke video, which is not cool if we're talking about accurate information. Now, if I'm wrong, I hope somebody shows me, because I've never heard him say that, and I'd be curious to hear why he's saying that. But yeah, anyways, we're always learning new things, and so there's that. So as far as B12 goes, though, it's pretty interesting. The history of it's kind of complicated, because from my understanding, like so apes, which we humans are apes as well, but apes have to like eat their own feces for the most part to get the B12, because their bodies don't make it because of cobalt going into a body. Depending on the type of animal, the intestines will turn it into B12, and with apes that doesn't happen. And from my understanding, that wasn't the case with humans. Now, some people will argue that humans used to get it from water, so that's kind of interesting. But in my mind, it doesn't really matter where we got it. The question is, can we get it now, and is it a healthy form? I care about health. I think health is very important. And so if to get optimal health, we have to do something that's not vegan, I'm totally in favor of that. We just, in my mind, that's the best approach. But do we need to? And so with B12, we're learning as we go with supplements, but I'm currently in favor of eating bivalves. And I just recently looked it up, and the B12 that you can get from mussels and oysters. And I think you can get it from all bivalves, but I just looked those two up, and it's insane. It's like basically like 7 times the daily amount you need in a serving of either of those two things. And some people take the precautionary principle, and in case bivalves are sentient, they don't consume them. I think it's fine to consume. But if we're just talking about like the idea of veganism or not, even if you consumed fish or beef or whatever, if the concern about going vegan is B12, then, and let's say you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to go vegan because of B12, like this guy's saying in this video, then just find something that has B12 in it that's an animal product and eat that, and be mostly vegan besides that. Eat a steak every day or every week or whatever. You don't have to do something either perfect or not at all. If you want to harm less animals, then do what you can do that doesn't get in the way of what you're not willing to do. So if you're not willing to sacrifice your health with B12 stuff, that's great. Just find what you know to be a healthy form of B12 that you can afford. So if you can only afford beef or fish or whatever has B12 in it, that let's just say beef. If you can only afford the factory farmed beef, then do that. Just get a small amount of it and say, oh, sweet, my B12 is good, but I'm mostly going to eat veggies or whatever. And then if you can afford higher quality stuff, and by higher quality, what I really mean is afford something that harmed less animals. So if you find a place that has like free range grass-fed cows or something with no hormones pumped into it, then get whatever small amount of that you need a week or a day or whatever to have B12 in you, while cutting out the rest of the garbage that you don't need. Cut out the unhealthy animal product ice creams and all these different things. So, yeah. Okay. So we got somebody in chat here that says, why not just use a B12 supplement? So yeah, there's a part before that you missed. I'm definitely saying B12 supplement, good to go. I'm just pointing out that no matter what end of things you go to, if you're trying to say, don't become vegan because of this, there's so many routes you can go to be less harmful. So anyways, I just like to cover the ranges.
And I've updated my recommendations.
You can just take a supplement or eat fortified foods. It's quite easy.
Or if you're doing fortified foods 3 times a day, so like at each meal containing at least 190% of the daily value.
Put a hole in the paper. Well, I'm ready to go vegan. I guess I'll take daily B12 fortified foods, and periodically I'll take a B12 supplement every now and again. This should do the trick. I was looking through your packet and it actually looks like you were doing it wrong. Yeah, I'm sorry. You were actually supposed to hold the fortified foods under your tongue for about 15 seconds before you swallow. Next time you need to educate yourself. Oh, forget that, bro. I die for this.
Okay, I get it. You know, they're going for a joke, but they're also going for seriousness. And so the idea of educate yourself, like in a sense, we all should educate ourselves. We should do the best we can, but we can't do everything perfect, and not everybody is going to be able to do everything. So if somebody is convincing somebody to do something different that could be harmful, sure, it's probably best to give them whatever accurate information they can, and so yeah, it's complicated, but it's not much different as far as what's complicated the other direction. If somebody's just eating, you know, McDonald's every day and they're drinking these sugary sodas and whatever, then you'd want to educate yourself to make sure that you're getting healthy food in you instead of not healthy food. Like, sure, maybe you'll get some B12 from whatever you're eating at McDonald's, but it's not like vegan have to educate yourself. Not vegan don't educate yourself. So yeah, it's complicated, but yeah, it's also important to keep in mind what things we've done throughout history. I don't think history affects us now, but to keep in mind different things, like we didn't even learn about B12 as humans until the mid 20th century. And there might have been different ways we got it outside of animals, but we probably mostly got it from animals. And we can change now if we want to, and if we figure out the best ways to do it. But anyways, I just find this to be a silly video because it's not making much of a point. You can definitely do something wrong. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if the claim is that you can't do it wrong, but it says the title is How Vegans Always Say You Did It Wrong. Now, I think that's usually referring to something like if somebody goes vegan, but then they try some wild thing like being only raw food or something. Or, you know, so they're doing some wild fasting thing where they're only eating like an hour a day or something like that. Not that I'm saying anything's wrong with that. I don't even know. There's probably a version of raw that's fine too. I don't do that and I don't recommend it. And, I'm totally into intermittent fasting. But I'm not recommending or not recommending that. I'm just saying that somebody can do something trying to do it a certain way, and the way they did it led to a problem, and that doesn't mean that, you know, they didn't do it right. Like it makes sense to say you did it wrong. Now, it doesn't make sense to necessarily say if you failed, you did it wrong, but if they didn't do it wrong, that would be the more important thing to show, and I'd be curious what that could even look like. So yeah, hopefully somebody has something for that. Okay, in the chat here it says, I've read it was easier to get B12 from plants in the past because they are less washed and therefore the bacteria producing B12. Not saying that we should eat dirty vegetables. Yeah, no, I've heard that too, and I've heard that it was in the water, and I've done a bit of research. And so basically what it boils down to is what becomes B12 comes from a thing called cobalt. It's a mineral in the ground. And then that mineral can get in water, but it also can it's in dirt, so it could be on plants and whatnot. But it really comes down to the type of intestines you have. So there's a lot of animals that have the type of intestines that their body will basically make B12. So it reaches a certain intestine that creates a B12, and then that's in your body. Where humans, apes, you know, various different primates, from my understanding, when the cobalt reaches the intestine, so you got the large and the small intestine. When it reaches your first set of intestines, that's where your body will absorb a vitamin. And so if the cobalt could become B12 right then your body would absorb the B12. But it's not B12 yet because the intestines that it's going to hit after that first set of intestines is what turns it into B12. And so now it's already past the intestines that would absorb it when it becomes B12. So basically when you test primate feces. All primate feces has tons of B12, but no primates can turn cobalt into B12 in their bodies. That's my understanding. I've also heard that it's different, but from researching it and just reading paper after paper, that's my understanding on it. So I'd love to be convinced otherwise. But this is why apes will get B12 from eating their own feces. I'm guessing most animals, if they need something, they find it. They can smell a vitamin and mineral in something. They can detect it. They're just like, they naturally get what they need to get. There's probably just something wildly different for humans when it comes to processing all our foods and then just having this abundance. We go more for the pleasure, more so than, like, it probably throws something off that tells us how to detect what we need or don't need. So anyways, there's some thoughts on that. Okay, Contrarian 420 says, why wouldn't you be into raw? Every other animal on Earth is a raw foodist. Your digestive system, let's see, evolved to eat raw foods. Yeah, no, I was saying I'm not. I was pointing out I'm not necessarily saying we should do raw or not do raw, or do fasting or not do fasting. I was pointing out that if somebody does it, then if somebody does something specific like that, then there's always a chance that they can do it wrong and fail at it. You can do anything wrong. Being vegan, you could eat only Oreos for the rest of your life, and it's going to be a short life. But the same thing would happen if you ate only carrots for the rest of your life. It would probably be a short life. And so, yeah, no, it makes sense. Not most, all animals do not cook their food. So every animal is capable of living a normal, natural, it must be natural life eating raw. I just, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily best. It's likely best, something like that. But if we can discover, like, from my understanding, beans are insanely healthy for you. So if we can discover that if we take this thing that would be unhealthy to eat raw and we cook it, and then when we consume that, that makes us healthier, so we live longer, then this thing can exist. It's just a bummer that other animals would never be able to figure it out. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I don't know if there's foods that because we cook them, we live longer. I don't know the details on cooking food leading us to be more intelligent and have larger brains and all that kind of stuff. I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff. I just don't know all the details, but yeah.
If you are not regularly supplementing with cyanocobalamin, you are doing the diet wrong.
Gotta make it up the struggle, gotta find it.
Yeah. So anyways, there's that. I might react to some more of this guy's videos. If he wants to come on and chat, I'd love to have that happen. So when I edit these videos together and have this one out by itself, and anybody sees this that knows him and wants to send it to him and see if he wants to come on the channel and talk, that'd be great. So yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next one.